In this video we are going to be putting together a timeline together. So it's pretty easy. All we're really doing is going through our planning form and plugging that information into the timeline. So you want to start at the ceremony. So one of the first bits of information you're going to want to write down is guest arrival time. In this case it's 5 o'clock. Guest arrival. One thing that you're going to want to note is if there's any readers, you're going to want to prep them during that guest arrival period time, if not a little bit earlier. So in this case, there is a reading. It's by Susan. So I'm going to make a note to myself to find Susan to prep her for the reading. So that really just means make sure that she's comfortable with where the mic stand height is at and make sure that she's comfortable speaking into the microphone. You could include Piano Guys as the guest arrival music. You don't necessarily have to put that in the timeline, but it could be helpful for you. So then the next block of time here is the ceremony start time, which is 5:30. And there's nothing to note for yourself here that would be super helpful. If there was a Unity ceremony song, you might want to note to yourself to play that. But I'm pretty comfortable just going off the form for playing the songs. So then you move right into cocktail hour, which is a half hour after the ceremony. So 6 o'clock, cocktail hour. And during cocktail hour, they want blackjack. So definitely make a note of that so that you don't forget. And you could also note their music. They wanted Rat Pack and Big Band. Cocktail hour is really quite simple. So after cocktail hour, it's now 7 o'clock, which means you're ready for the grand entrances. And when noting grand entrances, you just want to note what parts you're doing, because you're not always going to do a party starter, and you might be segueing into the parent dances or something like that. So just note everything that you're going to need for this block of time. In this case, it's going to go party starter into a first dance with a guest join in, and parent dances aren't till later. So we're going to note exactly what's happening here. Party starter, first dance with guest join in. I think it's pretty important to write down that there's a guest join in because it's pretty easy to miss on the planning form. So if you put it in the timeline, you're not going to forget to announce it. So you can move right on past that. You could always note songs if you wanted to as well. Like you could write down the song titles and whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you think is going to make you most efficient on the day of. But right after grand entrances, you move right into toasts. You figure grand entrances usually take something like 15 minutes for the actual grand entrances, the party starter, and the first dance. So 7:15 toasts, and we also have a blessing in this case. So I'm going to write that in the timeline so you don't forget. Toast by best man Josh. Blessing by Pastor Rob. So it's pretty important to write the names down and the titles because you want easy access to that information. You know, you don't want to be fumbling around for names as you're trying to announce it. You want to be giving off the impression that you know everybody and you know everything that's going on. So right after the blessing, you're going to take the microphone back, which gives you an opportunity for a few announcements before dinner. So they have a hashtag here. So I like to make a little bit more instruction for me. That way I don't forget to look at the next box here. So you figure the toast will probably take like 10 minutes. And the dinner announcements are hashtag, as well as closest birthday they're doing. So we're going to put that here. And that is it for this section. Yeah, that is it. So hashtag closest birthday. So write the hashtag in this box. That way when you take the microphone from Pastor Rob, you'll be ready to immediately announce the hashtag, do the closest birthday, and then just announce dinner. The dinner will be out shortly. So from 7:30, dinner starts. It's probably roughly what you can expect. And there's the only thing to worry about during dinner, it looks like we're doing parent dances, kind of towards the tail end, which is not where I usually like to do it, but for whatever reason, when planning for this couple, they wanted to do it as dinner was ending. I forget their exact reason, but regardless, we're going to want to note that there's parent dances. So I like to put that in as many spots as possible so that there's no way I miss it. So parent dances towards the end of dinner. And then we're going to write it again down here. So towards the end of dinner, probably like, we'll say like 8:15, but that's very flexible. Parent dances. And then I usually just take this entire box and just paste it into here. You don't have to do that necessarily, but I think, again, the more easily accessible this sort of critical information is, the better. It's going to make your eyeballs look at it multiple times and going to limit your chance for error and maximize your probability of memorizing their names and the songs and stuff so you don't have to reference the forms constantly. No voiceover. If there was a voiceover, I would note that in the timeline as well, just to be extra safe. Then moving right into the reception. So dinner probably ends at like 8:30, right? So you have a few details here. You have glow sticks that you have to give away. There is a cake cutting song that they're calling attention to, and there's an inverse anniversary dance that also is doubling as a dedication to their grandparents. So with this information, I would probably put cake cutting right after, or right as dinner is sort of ending. If it doesn't actually end up happening there, it's not the end of the world. But if you can get it done before opening the dance floor, that's definitely preferable. And then they have the inverse anniversary dance, which is a really good way to open the dance floor and get everyone up there. So I would place that right at the beginning of dance time. And because it doubles as a dedication to her grandparents, it's even more important to do it early while they're still there. So I'm just going to paste that entire box into the timeline so that I have all the information about her grandparents easily accessible. Then the only other notes that you're going to want to put in your timeline so that you don't forget are the glow sticks. And it doesn't really matter exactly when you hand out the glow sticks, but you want to do it fairly early so that they have some time with it. And I think it's important to put in the timeline because it's very easy to forget a small detail like glow sticks. So make a point of putting that in there. So announce cookie bar after cake cutting. So that's actually going to go right over here, right in our cake cutting box. And then this event ended at 11. So you probably want to put something like 10:55, last song of the night. In this case is New York, New York. And then 11 o'clock, you have your final announcements, which is there's an after party in the bar downtown. So you'll see just by looking through the form, you're able to piece together the timeline. And you go ahead and hit save, and that is that.